Hello one, hello all, it's the gothiest ghost of them all, Casper in the flesh, and it's time for a review of Olivia Rodrigo-Guts! Olivia Rodrigo is a pop singer, actress, and this is her sophomore album. And no, the Sophomore Curse is not real. Yeah, I had something cool planned, but didn't happen. Maybe next time when I review another sophomore album. But this album is certainly an improvement when I look back on the debut, which I enjoyed, but I do feel that it kind of started to lose focus. I do feel like it started to run out of ideas pretty quickly near the end. But I will say though, when it comes to this album in comparison to the first one, the ideas are definitely flowing. The focus is certainly there. And she is definitely getting more experimental on here. I mean, not experimental in terms of like, death grips or anything like that. But I do feel that she is bringing new elements to the table to pop punk, or pop in general. And with the album being called Guts, it definitely shows that on here. There is no false advertising on here because you are getting nothing but guts on here. She is showing nothing but bravery on here and taking on her problems head on. Be that exes, be that herself, be that the environment that she's around. And I knew from the leading single we were in for something special. And the leading single being Vampire, where she narratively shows her creative genius once again. On Vampire, where she gives an absolutely stunning vocal performance. The production is so ghostly. The keys are so gloomy and sinister. The strings, the pumping rhythms, and how there is like a stuttering effect on the production, as she is calling out this manipulative piece of trash, and also drawing similarities on how this person only comes out at night, how they're very deceptive, and paralleling the draining of energy and life from the victims that he chooses, pretty much mirroring bleeding them dry like a vampire. This man must be stopped! And now that I've heard the album, and now that I've been able to consume it multiple times, what are my thoughts on it? Is the music great? Is the music worthwhile? And the answer to that is yes, absolutely. With the opener, All American Bitch, with these crunchy, in-your-face guitars and drums, anthemic chorus, and I truly love her expressive vocals on here, with a lot of variation going from blissful and melodic to her raging, chanting, impassioned vocals. With a lot of attitude, she still keeps that conviction going within her vocal performances, as she describes herself as the perfect American bitch, and it's pretty much an immense display of all the emotions she has had bottled up since she was 15, and she is just letting it out on this track, just relentlessly letting it out that she's had pent up for so long. And the anger has stemmed from having the feeling of being pigeonholed by society and having to live up to unfair expectations. And next we have Bad Idea, right? Which is a song I enjoyed as a single and even love more in the context of this album, as it goes into, dare I say, post-punk territory with this driving bass, squealing distorted guitars, and cheeky spoken word bits, shouted group vocals about seeing an ex again, and telling herself that, oh yeah, he's just a friend, when in actuality she still has feelings for this person, so she feels it could be a detriment to see him again. But also, you gotta get your sad girl cuts too, such as Lacy, which is a meditative lullaby strummed cut, which is a from the heart letter to a mysterious figure or a mysterious material. The track is absolutely dreamy, very layered, in a way kind of reminding me of Sufjan Stevens or Taylor Swift Midnights, if it wasn't mid. But no, seriously, like, we do know that Taylor Swift is influential to Olivia Rodrigo, but what I love about this is I think she is learning from Swift and adding her own spin to it and doing it very well, keeping it interesting, keeping it exciting. The song Ballad of a Homeschooled Girl has this heavy, groovy, bassy production with an insanely catchy, blaring hook with a melodic, detuned guitar buildup to an explosive, energetic ending on how she is finding herself in these situations, and every time she steps outside, she is basically committing social suicide, pretty much giving the depiction of someone who is socially awkward, how every time she tries to be social, something happens, whether it's something she could have prevented or something she could not have prevented. Poor Olivia. Poor Olivia. And I think the narrative does follow onto the track Making the Bed, which is definitely more forlorn in tone. Definitely a break from the quirky, humorous energy. Making the Bed, which is a grand ballad on how she is starting to question whether she is the cause of her victimization, like she has become the victim of her own doing. And the hook is so dramatic, and we get this blaring electronic guitar solo at the end, which is absolutely stunning. There are some weak cuts on here though, like there are tracks where it could have built up to something grand but kind of becomes a little stagnant, a little tedious to listen to. But while I do appreciate sticking to the narrative, I do think sonically there could have been more variety here. Like on the track Illogical, I get the pain, I get the hurt, but the production is really bland on here and not really doing much for me. Things do pick up though with the song Get 'Em Back, which flow-wise shares similarities to Butthole Surfer's Pepper, except a less morbid version of that song. And I love the swaying group vocals, the spoken word passage on how she has mixed feelings about this guy, whether she wants to get him back in a vindictive way or a romantic way. She can't decide. She is trying to balance those feelings out, because on the other hand, she is fond of some memories with him, but on the other hand, she can't help but remember how toxic and how much of a womanizer he is. But again, she is definitely bringing that pain and humor here, and she is just coalescing them in a very clever and very fun way. The following cut, Love is Embarrassing, though, is probably my least favorite track on this album. I do like the energy, I do love the pumping momentum of the production, but it gets kind of tedious to a point where there's no actual build-up. Although I do admire the narrative focus, but it just isn't as strong as the other highlights on here, and I kind of feel that same way about Grudge. I just feel that in terms of the structure of the production, it just becomes very uneventful. The album does end off strong, where you got Pretty Isn't Pretty, which is a psychedelic synth cut, pumping beat, but there's definitely more variety in terms of the production here, and I do love a good reverb bass line. And I do think that the sentiments shared on the last two tracks, in a way, coalesce with each other, but in different subjects, such as Pretty Isn't Pretty, as Olivia is talking about how she doesn't feel like she is going to fit the beauty standard that society has set for her. She has tried losing weight, trying different makeup, but not exactly meeting the standards of what she thinks pretty is, and it's very tragic, it's very sad. The last track on here, Teenage Dream, is where she is questioning whether she can live up to, again, other people's expectations, Whew, getting choked up here. Her expectations of evolving not only as a teenager, but as a adult, as a person. And she is just saying how she is being told it gets better as you get older, it gets better as you grow, but what if she doesn't grow? What if she doesn't progress? And she really has her whole life ahead of her, and I think she knows that, but I think what we're getting here is an expression of the pressure she is facing. She feels like she has already given her best and that she doesn't know if she can give any more. And yeah, and aside from the powerful message here, we also get a very powerful guitar solo at the end. It's very crushing, it's very heavy, and it's so epic. I think it caps off the album really well. And then we get, I believe, a audio clip of her when she was a baby, I believe, and her parents and how they adore her. In a way, the intro, the starting track, coalesces with, again, the ending, how she is what society has tried to pigeonhole her to be, so she feels she has met that standard, but now, due to giving society her all, and what else she could give, she doesn't know what else she could give, and she is trying to foresee what she could bring next. So I think that's a very important tie-in for the album. Excellent sophomore album, for sure. I think in terms of vocals, although I never thought she was a bad singer, I think in terms of vocal variation, in terms of mixing up different emotions, and in terms of production, there has been a lot of improvements and a lot of additions to make this thing exciting and fun and consistently great. Sure, there are some cuts that I feel could have been more adventurous, but yeah, overall, I think this is a great album. I think this is definitely an improvement. I do think this definitely exceeds the debut, Sour, and I'm feeling a 4 out of 5 on this album. 4 black hearts out of 5 on this album. But if you've given this album a listen, what did you think of it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? And why? And that's it. Caspa, Got the Ghost, Olivia Rodrigo-Guts. Till we meet again. And I just got a notification that Ken Mode released another album. So let's check that out.